was a man of God. That the Bible says he was a man after God's own heart. David, as a little lad, had killed a lion and a bear. David, my brothers and sisters, when he had become of age, he went to the Israelite camp, and he heard a sound in the valley, and there was a giant, a Philistine giant. His name was Goliath, and Goliath stood out in the midst of that valley and defied the very armies of God. But old David said, wait a minute, who is this Philistine giant that he should defy the very armies of God? David took 5 smooth stones and a slingshot, and he brought the giant down. Can I get a witness here? Some of you got giants in your life right now, and you need to learn how to bring your giants down. But not only did David knock the giant down, but to make sure that Goliath was gone, David took Goliath's sword, and he took the giant's sword and cut the giant's head off. And that lets me understand that even though you bring the giant down, you got to be careful. Because just because the giant goes down don't mean he's through. You got to learn how to cut his head. You got to learn how to cut his head off. And David cut Goliath's head off. And he ended the reign of Goliath. And he took out the Philistine giant. But now David has the giant sword as a badge of honor. He's carrying around Goliath's sword, walking around with the giant sword. But that posed a problem. Because see, sometimes even in your success, men will begin to hate you. Even when, listen, you got to be careful, because when you rise up too fast, other folks sitting on the sidelines get jealous. They get mad, they get envious, and they can't stand. I don't know who they think they are. And David rose up so fast that the women began to say, Saul has killed his thousands, but David has killed his tens of thousands. And that prompted a jealousy and an envy and a rage in Saul that he wanted to take David's life. And now David was a man on the run. Can I get some help with that? Has anybody in here ever been a man on the run? I believe there's some folk in here, you ran in here this morning because you own them. But God told me to tell you your running days are over. Can I get a witness here? God told me to tell you you can run, but you can't. Somebody know what I'm talking about. And now David is running from the Saul. David is fleeing from Saul. And he ends up in Gath. And at Gath, he was in the Philistine territory. But he's not a problem. Because he's still carrying his badge of courage. And they didn't recognize David, but they recognized that sword. Wait a minute. Who is this man with Goliath's sword? And so now David, my brothers and sisters, is ushered into the courts of Abimelech. He is ushered into the courts of Abimelech because they want to know who is this man that would carry, that have the audacity to carry the sword of Goliath. And when he gets into the courts of the king, David said, I got to do something. Because if I don't do something, they're going to kill me. Because they're going to realize I'm the one that took out their giant Goliath. So the Bible says that David began to act like he was crazy. He made as he was mad. He started foaming at the mouth. delivered right now because you ain't lost your mind. You still trying to be pretty. You still trying to be cute. You still trying to impress somebody. What in the world you doing? Still not trying to impress folks that you know don't like you anymore. You better tell him to get out of your way. I got God to praise. I done lost my mind. I'm crazy up in here, up in here, up in here. I can't hold my peace. So when I feel that somebody ain't lost their mind yet. When I feel that, allow David, see, in that day the order was you couldn't kill a crazy man. You couldn't even put him in jail. You couldn't lock him up. The best thing to do with a crazy man is just let him alone. And you know how to get them haters off your back. You know how to get them folks out your territory. Act like you done lost your mind. Just lose your mind one good time. They'll get your hands off of you. They'll get up off of you. If you don't lose your mind. So when Abimelech allowed David to leave, David escaped to the cave. Ooh, yeah, that's all right. Yes. Sometimes you got to lose your. You say, what's wrong with them? They just done lost their mind. Well, you see, when you lose your mind, you can be free. And the Bible said, whom the Son set free is free. So David departed to the cave of Adullam. David got to the cave of Adullam and he ran into the cave. And sometimes that's where life will end you up. You'll be in a cave and sometimes all by yourself. Now you got to understand this was David who had been promised and it had been prophesied that he would be king on the throne. But now a king is reduced from fleeing and running, and now he's in a cave all by himself. See, what I come to tell somebody, your present circumstance does not define you, and it's not the end of you. You have to press on because God got something better up the road for you. The question is, are you going to come out of your cave? And the way you come out is what you do while you're in there. David didn't throw a pity party in the cave. David said, in the cave I will bless the Lord. First thing we see in the text is continual praise. Everybody say continual praise. David says, I will bless the Lord not sometime, but and somebody got it. He said, when I'm up, I'm going to bless the Lord. When I'm down, he said, my praise is not going to be limited to any moment in time, but every time I think about it, I'm going to give him something. David is in the famous cave of Adullam in the hill country of Judea, southwest of Jerusalem. Says, I'm going to do it at all times. Here David gives the antidote for poison and doubt, for depression and despair. He says the antidote is continual praise. Sometimes you have to be like